Let me tell y'all something real. Some stories don't fade with time. They sit in your spirit and they grow heavier and they come back when the truth finally cracks through the walls. And today, we talking about one of those stories. New Epstein emails just dropped, and a woman, not anonymous, not hiding, has stepped forward saying Donald Trump groped her inside a Trump Tower while Epstein just stood around and watched. And whether you believe her or not, this one hits a little different. This one exposes the type of power, silence, and the ugly culture that's been allowed to run this country for decades. So today, we break it down clip by clip, no spin, no sides, just truth and context. Let's roll the clip.
We are going to talk to Stacey Williams, who is Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend. She says she was groped by Donald Trump back in 1993 in Trump Tower.
All right, hold up right there. Before folks jump to conclusions, understand what's happening here. This ain't just a random woman chasing fame. She's out here with a specific moment at a specific place at a specific time involving two very powerful men who were undeniably close. And people gotta stop pretending like the 80s and 90s were like some like love the women fest years. Nah, it was a wild, wild west for them rich guys. Billionaires had no leashes, no internet, no accountability, and a whole lot of ego. So when she says this happened, you can't look with your 2025 eyes. There was no phones or anything that record anything. You got to see the power of imbalance, the culture around these men, the silence that protected all of these rich guys, man.
Tell me about what happened to you.
Yes, I dated Jeffrey Epstein very briefly in 1983. And his best friend at that time was Donald Trump. They had a very close friendship. And one day I was on a walk with Jeffrey, and he said, let's stop in and see Donald in his office at Trump Tower. And I said, okay. And we walked in there, and Trump proceeded to grope me right outside of his office door while Jeffrey just stood there and watched. His hands were all over my body, and it was very odd because the two of them were talking about, something not about the groping. They were having a conversation. I don't remember what it was about, and smiling, continuing on with their conversation as if the groping wasn't happening.
Now, this is where the whole picture sharpens. Look at the details she gives. Epstein brings her unannounced. Trump doesn't even hesitate. Epstein doesn't react. They keep having this regular conversation while she's being touched. That tells you everything about the dynamic between these two guys, man. This wasn't a shock. This wasn't confusion. It damn sure wasn't an accident. This was how they conducted business. And listen, people who've never been in this situation, they like to not understand and say they don't know what a freeze response is. Look, your brain shuts down. You're trying to process danger, ego, confusion, and survival all at the same time. A whole lot of women didn't fight back, not because they were okay with it, but because the moment was so designed for them to be overpowered. This looks less like a misunderstanding and more like business as usual.
After the incident, and it was, very brief, just a couple of minutes, we took the elevator, down, and Jeffrey's energy was very dark and sort of stormy and angry. And we got it on the street, and he just ranted at me and asked me, he kept saying, why did you let him do that? Why did you let him do that? And I remember being utterly confused. Like, yeah, why did I? What just happened? And as I came into my body, I got the sense that the whole thing was coordinated.
This right here, this exposes the whole psychological game. Epstein sets up the moment. He watches it happen, then blames her for it. That is an abuser manipulation move 101. They orchestrate chaos and then shame you for surviving it the only way you could. His anger wasn't protective. His anger wasn't even jealousy. It damn sure wasn't confusion. It was control. It was domination. It was ownership. It was, I decide what happens, not you. People underestimate how predators use shame as a weapon. They make you question yourself for something that they actually engineered. And that's why she calls it coordinated. And honestly, that's exactly what it is.
My sense is that I was walked in there as sort of a challenge to see if Trump would do what he has admitted to doing to women, which is grabbing them, the Access Hollywood tape, he talked about it, his own words, and then what he did to me and, what the other, 27 and counting women he has touched without consent have shared. So I think it was a challenge, and they were such close friends. These are the kind of creepy, misogynistic games they were up to together.
That line right there, that's the part people don't want to face. We ain't talking about regular dudes. We talking about 2 billionaires surrounded by young women, modeling agencies, private parties, and zero oversight. If you go back through those old articles, Trump admitted they chased the same kind of women, and he said publicly like it was a badge of honor. So when she says games, I believe her. Not because she says so, but because these men left a trail of behavior that matches exactly what she's describing. This is classic billionaire power play masculinity. Not attraction, not romance, just a dare, a game.
Caroline Levitt, in particular, has called you a former activist for Barack Obama. She says your allegations are unequivocally false. It's a fake story. Mm-hmm. They claim it's a fake story contrived by the Harris campaign. What's your response?
So, first of all, I welcome her to speak to the world-renowned polygraph examiner who issued my polygraph. She's also welcome to have a conversation with Michael Wolff, who has confirmed, who Jeffrey confirms the story to about what they did to me together. I shared the postcard, the post-assault love note. I call it a love note from Donald Trump, which was, the public has seen it. But also, more importantly, she was the person who came out yesterday on behalf of the White House and said they're being fully transparent. Now, how do you say that right on the heels of strong-arming a representative, a House rep, Lauren Boebert, to pull back on her vote to release the files? That is the antithesis of transparency.
Now, this part is important. Most people who lie don't have receipts. They don't take polygraphs. They don't bring witnesses. They don't have correspondence, and she does. And listen, a polygraph ain't perfect, but it's a hell of a lot more than people normally put up with trauma stories from decades ago. What she's doing requires risk. It requires her to be vulnerable. It requires standing on truth when the world will tear you down. Meanwhile, the man at the center keeps saying, I barely knew Epstein. Even though we all saw the quotes, the photos, the events, the parties. So yeah, man, let's just check out this last clip.
I can't speculate. I can only share that story that happened to me with the two of them together. But to get back to this issue of like, if he did nothing wrong and we've all had some friends that we've cut off and we didn't like. So it's normal, then just release the files. I mean, there's nothing to hide. It just makes no sense. And like the longer this goes on, I mean, come on, I've been talking about this since last fall now. And how are we still litigating whether or not they were friends? It's like, it's just laughable.
And that's the real question. If there's nothing to hide, if this is all coincidence, if these were just two old friends, then why not release the files? Transparency protects the innocent. Silence protects the powerful. And the longer this gets dragged out, the more survivors like her have to keep re-exposing their drama while the men involved stay protected behind PR teams and legal shields. Whether you believe every detail or not, one thing is clear. The abuse thrives in the dark and it dies in the light. So please, let's let the light in. This is Hood Politics, where we tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you really think? Is Trump involved deeper than we even think he is? Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tapped in. Because we don't do left and right, Democrat or Republican. We do right or wrong. Stay sharp, stay aware. and I'll see you on the next one.